Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Wednesday class. Sorry about that. I'm still letting people into the classroom. I am Lilly Browning. I work for Hernando County Utilities, and today I get to sit back and just control the PowerPoint while my friend Alice gets to share lots of fun information with you about gopher tortoises and how to welcome them into our yards. They know perfectly well how to live in Florida. It's we who came along and kind of messed things up with our development, but Alice is going to tell us how to kind of set some things back straight so that we can welcome our gopher tortoises. Again, I am Lilly Browning. I work for Hernando County Utilities. My program is Florida Friendly Landscaping. I have classes just about every week discussing one or more of these 9 principles. We're going to concentrate a whole lot on number 5 today, which is attracting wildlife, and one particular. And as usual, I think you'll find out when you attract gopher tortoises, that's not all that you're attracting.
Right.
And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce my friend Alice Mary Herden. She is a fantastic wildlife photographer. She tries to be my mentor in photography, you know.
I'm trying.
You can only, work with the material that you're given. And she's also a Florida Master Naturalist, an advanced Master Naturalist. And if you don't know exactly what that means, we're going to ask her at the end of this presentation, how did she become a Master Naturalist, and how could you maybe become a Master Naturalist as well? So Alice, go ahead and take it away and let us hear. I guess, Alice, go ahead and go for it.
Okay. Oh, thank you. You know what? I love that title. Go for it. Who else but Lilly could think of that title? So I just want to touch base a little bit about gopher tortoises. I know they're a huge species of concern here, especially in our county. But a little bit about gopher tortoises. They are a keystone species, and what a keystone species is an organism that plays a unique and crucial role in the ecosystem. And without its keystone species, the ecosystem would dramatically change. For a gopher tortoise, it's the burrow that plays an important role as the keystone species. By providing shelter for over 300 species of wildlife, including the endangered indigo snake, as well as the Florida mouse. They can live up to 60 years, and they are great neighbors. And if you're fortunate to have them in your yard, they're great tenants. Next slide. The burrow, which is, if you can point out what the burrow is right there, the gopher tortoises tend to dig their burrows in open, sunny locations where there is soft, sandy soils. The entrance of the burrow is called an apron, which you can see right there in front of that hole right there. Next slide. Hatchlings. Now, if you look closely to little Mr. Grumpy right there, he was, I don't know if it's a he or she, but this hatchling was born in December of last year. So this is a great surprise for us to have this little one close to us. So the gopher tortoise burrows tend to, oh, I'm sorry, I need to go to my next slide. Hatchlings instinctively want to dig, but however, their shells are extremely soft when they're first born. So they may not be digging their burrows right away. They'll usually just hang out with their mom until their mom pushes them out and say, go find your own place. As they get older, yeah, it does. I think I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to that. As they get older, their shells will harden. Juvenile burrows can easily be overlooked, just like this guy. When they're first born, they're about 1 to 2 inches in length and width. So what to look for in your yard are those dome-shaped holes that actually look like squirrels digging for an acorn, but they're more defined as an arch-like. So just to let you know that gopher tortoises are listed as a threatened species. Both the tortoise and the burrow is protected under state law. Next. If you see, this is the property next to our house. This is a lot that our neighbor owns. And right there where the green arrow is the gopher tortoise burrow. And as you can see, these burrows are super, super small and can be easily overlooked. And if you do find a gopher tortoise living on your property, it's a very special opportunity for you to help provide additional herbaceous plants just for them. And that would be awesome if you could. So next slide. Here's another, we have two on that lot next door. And this is another gopher tortoise hole that you would never, gopher tortoise burrow, excuse me, you would never be able to see this. And so if you're mowing or what have you, you'll just, there's no way to be able to possibly see or understand why what this hole is. So we had marked it, flagged it, so it'll be safe and there will be no mowing over it. So next slide. On the myfwc.com website, there is a page named A Florida Guide to Gopher Tortoise Friendly Plants. This is an easy to read guide that provides information on a list of Florida native plants for existing gopher tortoises on your property. As gopher tortoises may travel up to 160 feet from their burrow to find food, providing Florida native plants nearby not only benefits them, but also provides a place for pollinators. Next slide. Fruit-bearing shrubs and trees are seasonal, which provides an essential food source for gopher tortoises. You might even have these plants already on your property. So let's get to the plants. Most of these plants are already on your property that you already have, that you didn't even know that gopher tortoises use these for a food source. So here I have a list for a while. We have some Florida native plants that I'll be telling you about, which is American beautyberry. Next. The purple passion flower. As you can see, this one is fruiting. That is called a maypop. This is dewberries and blackberries. Now, research states that a good portion of the gopher tortoise's diet consists of berries. Research also found that rubus, which seeds comprise about 12% of their diet. Yummy berries. The gopher berry. And don't worry, we'll have some links to tell you where to go to find these plants and more identification about these plants. Next slide. The gopher apple. Next, blueberries. There's quite a few wild blueberries here in Florida, which are the shiny blueberry, Darrow's blueberry, southern highbush, and also the sparkleberry. And also the prickly pear cactus. Now for this, the cactus eats the fresh pads. And then also, do you see this little thing on the top of that one pad? That was those yellow flowers. And what the flower will, after the flower produces and it dies off, then it will form a beautiful fruit. This is almost not ripe enough, but it will turn really bright red, and that is edible for the gopher tortoise. Chickasaw plum, those beautiful white flowers. Next, and then common persimmon, excuse me. Next, then we'll go into the herbaceous flowers. Herbaceous plants, like wildflowers, are not a beautiful accent to your Florida landscape, but these plants bring many pollinating species, like butterflies and bees, to your yard. Although these flowering herbaceous plants are not the top of the gopher tortoise diet, but they do provide food resource for them. Next slide. Of course, our sky blue lupine. Next. narrow leaf blue-eyed grass. These are really, really small. They're low growing things, flowers. Spurge nettle, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, don't touch these. They are painful. Wild petunias, blanket flower. Next, narrow leaf silkgrass, Florida green eyes, milkwort. I did not know this myself until I researched it. So here are different varieties of milkwort species. We have the orange, candy root, which is the yellow. Boykin milkwort is the second on the left. And then also the beautiful showy milkwort. Next. And then my favorite one, the Spanish needle. Yes, I know my husband keeps on pulling them out. But this is actually a great pollinating plant as well as a food source for gopher tortoises as well. Next. And then the beautiful thistle. This one right here pictured is the bristle thistle. Okay, next. Grasses and sedges. Now you're probably going to see a lot of these already in your yard. These are the main diet for the gopher tortoises, and there are hundreds of species of grasses and sedges that are native to Florida. This is a very beautiful, for me, I don't know if anybody else would think this, but I love these docks. These are a hashtag leaf dock. They have a beautiful type of flower. It's really, really pretty. Next, the dwarf plankton. We've got tons of this growing in our yard already. And then the roseate grasses. Those are already native. They're already coming out. The beak sedge are also part of the gopher tortoise's diet. These are white-topped sedge. And then let's go into garden ideas. Even though that you, depending on your yard and your home association, your rules, deed restrictions, or whatever, there might be some restrictions or what have you, but this, in our front yard, we actually have this already set up. And this is a small patch that was originally on the property, and it's a perfect spot to create a small garden for Florida-friendly plants for the gopher tortoises. This is on our gopher tortoise to-do list, actually my husband's. So I'm not gonna, anyway, since there are 2 hatchlings, we want to provide a great food source for them, as well as creating a fun and attractive garden. With all those flowers and plant or grasses and everything, we can be able to create something small like this for them. Because remember, they can travel 160 feet. So next. This is another opportunity to create something for the gopher tortoises. This is actually on the property, our neighbor's property that has the 2 hatchlings. So if we can redesign and add and convert this into a bigger section for the gopher tortoises that are living there with Florida-friendly plants. And just for your information, this right here is gopher tortoise scat. Now, in a research study, there has been, I'm sorry, I need to look at this a little bit bigger. 68 species of seeds that are found in gopher tortoise scats. That's 22 more than the bobwhite quail. Gopher tortoises maintain the plant diversity of a longleaf pine habitat. So if you have pines in your yard or in your property, this is a great source. The number of plant species ingested and dispersed by the gopher tortoise, further evidence of the importance to many ecosystems. Excuse me, my phone is going off. Sorry about that. And next slide. That's all. It's a very, very simple having your already flowers and already grasses that are established in your yard already. Just being aware of those types of flowers or grasses or trees gives you a better opportunity to provide a better food source an additional food source for the gopher tortoises that are living near or in your property. And these are the links that we will give to you. Tons of information that I provided to even look at the different types of plants and flowers, where to get seeds if you want seeds, all this information, as well as the list of plants, additional to the ones that we have listed, Lilly and I had put together here. So tons of information for you out there.
Can we ask questions?
It would probably be best if you put your question in the chat, and we will be glad to answer them that way. If everyone who has questions, go ahead and put your questions in the chat. Okay. Thank you very much, Allison. I know there is going to be some really good questions here. Now, I know this is a lot of links that she has provided here. If you are interested in this information and you want to see it written down and have it in your hands, email me. See if I have my email right there. LillyB, that's 2 L's in the middle of Lilly, at hernandocounty.us, and say, I'd really like a PDF copy of the presentation on gopher tortoises. So therefore you can see all those pretty flowers, all those native flowers, all those native plants. And I know what you're thinking, and this is probably going to come up at some point. You were looking a lot of those and thinking, wow, I thought they were weeds.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What would you say to somebody who said that to you?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. I know it's such a touchy subject where depending on where you live and how you want your yard to look, and you talked about this as well, Lilly, is if you want a pristine, scenic and very pretty looking yard, front yard, backyard, or what have you, a lot of maintenance is, you have to do a lot of maintenance to keep all those weeds out. But a flower is a Florida native flower is,
it's what's supposed to be there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right, yes.
And there's no wrong, and there's no, you don't have to pull all these weeds out or whatever. You don't have to keep growing all these weeds. It's really up to you. So if it's providing a resource for wildlife, I say keep it. And if, bringing back the Spanish needle, my husband is like pulling them all out. And I'm like, honey, just let's keep just a little patch here. And it's maintained by mowing. So it's not like really overgrowing our yard or taking over our backyard at all.
I have a love-hate relationship with the Spanish needle, mostly a love, because even for us as photographers, if you want to take a picture of an insect, all you got to do is walk out to where your Spanish needle is growing. You're going to find some pollinator. You're going to find many pollinators on there. Therefore, some of that Spanish needle, that Biden's alba, has put itself in my front flower bed. And I do try to keep it under control, otherwise it would take over. But I don't have it within me to get rid of it completely out of there. I am much more hassled by the wild Bermuda grass that grows in that bed than the Spanish needle. And yeah, they'll put those little stickers on you. So, don't put it where you're going to brush against it or your dogs will. And, we're talking about a native animal. Therefore, native plants, which some of us consider sometimes weeds, of course, that's what they eat. And as you said, in their habitat, they have 68 different seeds, in their scat, that they are farmers, again, of their own food.
Yeah.
So therefore, of course, it all works together. I guess I'm very lucky in that where I moved up in the Royal Highlands, at that time, at least the builder that we utilized or we bought from, you get a half an acre and they only clear a quarter acre to put your house and a lawn on, and they left the back quarter acre absolutely the way that it was. I wish that would continue, but I'm seeing a whole lot of clear cutting.
Yeah, we were having that in our neighborhood as well. And
Yes.
it's, you know what, I'm not telling, this is just giving you some information about what plants that are good for gopher tortoises, that is a food source for gopher tortoises. Don't want to tear up your yard or do this or create a bonanza of all this other stuff. This is just an educational information for you to also research, and if you have things that you can be aware of. So if you're fortunate enough, and I've seen, especially in Hernando County, there's a lot of yards that are okay.
Conducive.
Let me tell you a story. Okay, if we have time.
Yes, plenty of time.
My husband was so adamant about having a pristine yard, having the pesticide come in and spray our yard and all this other stuff, until he just got, well, I am so tired of doing this. I'm so tired of trying to keep my grass like pristine and everything. And then he let it go. And and our yard is awesome because it's a great source of native grasses that are coming up. Some people call them weed. We have little day flowers that are growing up in our backyard and everything. And it's just a pollinating heaven for us. And as well as the front yard and the lot next door, that is a perfect example of just letting it go. And up here in this area, it's a more of a sandhill habitat. The soil is which is a good time to pitch something that's coming up with you. Yes. The soil is sandy and it doesn't retain a lot of water. So this is a good habitat for gopher tortoises. So it's really based up to you. This is only a guideline to show you what flowers and Florida native plants that are growing either in your backyard or plants that you can get in order to maybe plant over here or create a little section garden just for the gopher tortoises if you have somewhere, gopher tortoise nearby or whatever. So
and I guess I'm very spoiled because I was watching your exuberance and excitement when you found the baby gopher tortoises in the lot next to you, and I was like, okay, because I have had tortoises the entire 13 years that I've lived on my property, and babies every year, and to me they're just like and I guess I'm excited to see them, but it's also just part of everyday life. So
yeah, you come accustomed to that.
Yes, and it's interesting to me that that a lot of the plants that you listed is what grows naturally in that back, natural part of my yard. The sky blue lupine comes up, plenty of Florida green eyes.
Yeah.
I've been planting some blanket flower, so I thought, oh no, they're going to come and eat them. But I've just planted some passion vine too, but I've also got absolutely plenty of the prickly pear and beautyberry.
Right. See, everything is like growing naturally right there because of your, either that it's all Florida native, and that's great. That's what it's supposed to be there. So and about the hatchlings and everything, yes, it is my husband and I are ecstatic to be able to have a safe haven for these two hatchlings that just came upon us one day on a walk on the road, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what is these little things? And their survival rate is so low, and to be able to actually be able to have them live here and be safe for the time being, and hopefully they'll be able to grow old with us. So
yes, And they do eat the grasses. I've seen them. My lawn, you know, started out as bahia. There's still a lot of bahia there, but there's a whole lot of other, we call it a diverse lawn area. Another name I've heard for it is a freedom lawn. There's a whole lot of matchhead weed, which I would be interested to see if that is something that they like to eat as well.
Yeah, there is an extensive list, actually 2 lists on that link that have all types of, you want to see it here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a great list of information of plants and grasses and trees and what have you that are good for gopher tortoises if you have them in your property, or if you have them local or what have you. It's even in your park. I mean, who said that you can get on your if you have an HOO and we have like a park right here and there's gopher tortoises or whatever, and then see if you can work together as a community to plant some of these plants for them. So it's all about working together and ensuring some type of great food resources for them. Did you want to go to the questions at all, or?
Yes, we're going to go to the questions. Eileen wants to know if you know how to determine gender.
Oh, geez. Eileen, you got me on that one. It has to do, you won't be able to just look at them and say if they're a male or female, for sure. You'd have to flip them over.
Yes, I don't go around
turning
tortoises upside down.
Yeah, they'll have a divot inside underneath their shell. So there's a divot for the female and a divot for the a flat surface in the male. I'm not sure, but I know there's a divot. So
okay.
I should have researched that. You got me on
we get the idea.
I'm trying so hard to
females in general. Yes. The prickly pear, the opuntia. Do you cut the fruit and leave it on the ground, or let them fall naturally when overripe?
The prickly pear?
Yes.
Oh, just let it go.
It'll, well, yeah, for the tortoise, yes.
Yeah,
It's
so
interesting that the stinging nettle.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The stinging nettle and
thank you, Felicia.
Prickly pear, you know, are not things we want to go around and touch. But they're a problem for the gopher tortoises. Could we put the pulled Spanish needle by the burrow? It grows randomly in our yard, but our kids run into it, and the burrow is under our barn. I don't know if they'll eat it. If they probably want it fresh.
Let me see what the question was. Can we put this pulled Spanish needle by the burrow?
You know what will happen is you'll grow more Spanish needle there.
Well, just to remember, just to reiterate that the burrow and the gopher tortoise is a protected species. So you want to just, the apron is quite large, especially for the female, because that's where they lay their eggs. So you don't, if it's cleared or whatever, I would not put anything or add anything to or around that burrow. So remember, they'll go out and forage for food, and the more, and you want to
be like she said, where you see that apron, that sandy area by the burrow, there very well could be eggs buried in there. So that's not an area you want to walk, or also, like she said, maybe, I don't know, if putting stuff there might discourage them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, definitely. So let it be. I mean, they're,
or you can plant the Spanish needle, you know, there by the barn.
Yeah, somewhere off.
That's not where the kids are going to run into it, and you have to pick off all those stickers off their socks and everything. Let's see what else we have. Oh, I keep moving the wrong thing. Carol says, thank you. We have a 6 to 8 inch tortoise who has made its burrow in our backyard against the fence in a sandy spot. They're in North Pinellas, hoping plants listed will work for oak and pine area in the North Palm Harbor area. It should. Neighborhood common area is Gopher Tortoise habitat, cool, with many mature tortoises. I would say most of these plants also would work there, and a great resource you have is the, Alice, what's the name of it? I just lost it.
What is
They're in
that?
Tarpon, that center where, you know, all the woods around it, they're in Tarpon. Brooker Creek, whoa.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
That's a great resource that you have that you can go there and, or look them up on the internet, and they have all sorts of information about the Gopher tortoises, and, you know, maybe they have more food, you know, more tropical type stuff down there than we would have here in Central Florida.
Yeah, because it depends on your zone too as well. And these
Yeah,
the
they're gonna
links,
be 9B down there.
yeah, the links right here. Let me see. The Gopher Tortoise Forage Plants document from the Gopher Tortoise Council is a great resource to, is a great plant list. And then there's also the FWC site where they have the Florida Guide to Gopher Tortoise Friendly Plants. It's great wealth of information to see what plants you already have, or see what plants you might want to get or incorporate into a garden or what have you. So it's a great resource. So.
Yes, and here you were thinking, Felicia, the male has the concave shell underneath to make it easier to do what he has to do.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I should have known that, but my brain's
Yes.
like on
Yes,
overload
and
right now.
I knew Sid would pop up to give
Yeah.
us this answer as well, because I
Thank
saw
you,
her
Sid.
and I was thinking, okay, you know, Sid probably can answer this. So Sid is letting us know that the male shell is concave underneath, yeah, for mounting. So she has a smooth, flat undershell.
Yeah,
Okay, yes, and you think that.
but the hatchlings and everything are just, they're just so adorable, and
They
you know,
are, and I
and then-
just moved one the other day. Like I said, I'm used to my tortoise families. And so I had one, he's probably, oh, I don't know, the size of, you know, one of those miniature pies, you know, something, you know, and probably eight or so inches. But he decided he wanted to be in our little fenced in area where our two little dogs are. They didn't notice him, and my dogs are tiny, but I mean, they didn't notice him, but I was like, you have an entire yard, you know, you don't need to be here in the fenced area. So I moved him, and I don't know if he came back in or not, but usually what the adults do, and I've heard this from another person that I know who lives in the same kind of area I do, and she has big dogs, and the tortoises will do this. They'll walk along the fence, you would swear on purpose, just out of reach of the dogs going crazy, barking at them,
Oh,
and just take their daily walk along. Like, what are you going to do? You do
Yeah.
need to watch your dogs, though, because some
Yeah.
dogs, you know, are going to want to just naturally hunt them, and they could harm them.
yeah, dig into the
So-
burrow and stuff like that.
Right,
But,
right,
yeah.
and oh, I lost what I was going to say. I had some
Oh,
important.
welcome to my world. But
Yes.
let's go back on the plants and everything, because this is basically the, you know, creating a Florida friendly landscape for flowers and for gopher tortoises and everything, but all those, the lower shrub type grasses and flowers and plants are just, you know, just a great resource, and, you know, shiny blueberries and everything like that too. So it's a wealth of information. It's a great way to keep your connection with nature and wildlife. And actually there's, I just remembered here looking at the list, there's a Gopher Tortoise Friendly Yard Recognition Program. So check that out too.
Yes.
I would like to have, I would want to get that recognition. Definitely for
Oh,
sure.
yes, I know what
So-
I was going to say. If you want to see one, if you're wondering when you can see one, go out about 3 in the afternoon, the absolute hottest part of the day,
Yeah,
when they come out and they take their little stroll around. looking for food or whatever they're looking for. When we first moved there, we had one that would come up to the front door every day and leave his scat there.
Ah,
On the cement were there. And I did have a talk with him.
you did.
I did, and I said, I realize I moved into your home, but I would appreciate you not doing this right here unless you would like me to reciprocate at your burrow. And actually never did that again.
Sure. Oh, wow. That's interesting.
And it's kind of nice that, like you said, they plant those seeds around. And also it is late. We have very sandy soil, which tends to not be all that nutrient rich. So to know you have something out there adding, some nutrients to your soil is always a good thing too.
Yeah. And they
Sid
actually
says
grow in
here-
that.
Sid says here the tortoises have to be 14 before they are sexually mature. So they have very long lives. So that is, like a human, to have to do
Yeah.
that.
Does anybody have any
Yeah.
other questions about what flowering plants or what have you?
Just let us know. Oh, well, probably they want to know where you can find some of these plants if you don't already have them.
Yeah. You can
and
go
is
to
that
your
on your
Florida
thing?
Native Plant Society, your chapter, check out with your chapter to see if there's a local nursery around. But most of it's already in your yard if you're in a like a sandhill type
Mhm.
neighborhood, especially up where you live, Lily. So yeah, just gotta check your zones and stuff like that too as well.
And Felicia's saying she's sorry she missed this on the list.
Oh, frog,
Or
yes,
two of
frog
the
food,
frog
yes.
Yeah, we had just, that's what we meant when we talked about the Matchhead weed.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
particular plant has so many different names.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've
there's-
seen them munching on it. They really do enjoy it. And that, I have plenty of that, and it put itself in my yard as well.
how much
How
of a
much of a
buffer?
buffer should we
Oh,
give the barrow or apron?
great question. Great question. As much as a buffer you can. You want to try, I don't know the amount, the footage or what have you, but just keep in mind that they will travel 160 feet to forage for food. So if you keep that distance, I think, or maybe.
Well,
That's a
yeah,
great
that would be
question.
difficult in your yard. I would,
Yeah,
I would at least, as you can see what the, all the sand, there's nothing really a lot growing in a lot of them, where they have created, because they've dug up there a lot and stuff. So what I try to do is, wherever it looks extra sandy, I just walk around that.
yeah. So if you
Yeah.
want to plant or what have you, plant around that, just a good distance,
Mhm.
use your judgment that is not going to interfere with the daily activities of the Gopher tortoise that's already there, established in your yard or on your property. But I wanted to show that, this is one of it's page after page of plant species and herbaceous species for the Gopher tortoise, and this is on the FW site. Lots of information that you can get from there of all these different types of species. So species of plants, Florida native plants. So
Do they require a water source, or do they get all the moisture from the plants?
moisture is from the plants, especially the cactus.
There's
So
a lot of moisture in that prickly pear.
yeah. So they get all their water sources from there, from the plants in the grasses.
Yeah,
that
they
eat.
don't, yeah, because of, they're naturally in a pretty dry habitat.
Yeah.
Right. Could you expound upon when you said they're a keystone species? What does that mean?
The keystone species is a species that also helps other species in order to live in an ecosystem. like, as I said before, their burrow, the Gopher Tortoise's burrow makes them a keystone species because so many other species use their burrow at one time or another. And there's up to 300 species that would use their burrow. There's also species that will share the burrow. So once they established a depth of 40 feet or so, under 40 feet, that other mammals, reptiles, insects use those burrows. So that's what makes them a keystone species. Yeah. Without them, all those species will have nowhere to go.
So they do the work. They build the house, and the others just kind of come along and sublet it from them.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't charge for rent, because man, there's a lot of can make a fortune.
And that's another reason you want to steer clear of it, not only for the wildlife's sake, but there could be a rattlesnake in there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, there could be, you know, another kind of snake in there as well. Carol says we've seen a snake nearby and a hawk attempting to catch that snake.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, that's all part of the circle of life. Mike tells us
very good, Mike.
Will be laying their eggs about this time, and the eggs will hatch sometime in August to mid-September. So please stay away from that apron.
Yeah. Yeah, that is
you
true.
You can tell the extra sandy looking area, and especially, you know, closer to the burrow itself, you know, there's going to be some babies.
Yeah, so just
some eggs in there.
They have those little hatchlings have one heck of a ride to try to make it to their adult life, because they are just so vulnerable right now, especially when they come out their eggs, because raccoons and everything, and hawks, and it's just a massive survival right. Of the fittest, you know, because their shells are really
they are, as you said, a species of concern, so therefore you really aren't allowed to handle them. Like I said, I moved mine from a danger zone, and then put it right back down. And you know, people do that on the road as well. What do you feel about people who stop on the road and move the Gopher tortoises out of the road? What would you say about that?
I would say make sure that you are safe. For one thing, you pull aside and safe, and I do this if I see a Gopher tortoise crossing the road, and you gently pick them up and then place them on the other side of the road where they are going. You don't want to turn them around and face them and put them back on the other side. You want to pick them up and place them where they were heading.
They do make noise when you do
that. Mine are very calm.
Yes. Oh, okay. And they will pee on you, just so you know that too.
Yeah. So it's just it's hard, because I have seen some cross 19, and very fortunate to have.
In danger.
No, do not put yourself in danger. But if there's a break in that traffic and everything, I
wouldn't suggest it on 19 or any busy highway, but a regular residential road, you know. But of course, keep your safety in mind first.
It's hard. It's very, very hard.
Yes.
So.
Will the hatchlings typically stay close as they mature?
That's a great question, Carol. If we go back to the slide where it shows the first hatchling.
There?
For the other one. Nope. There, right there. Okay, back there. So as you can see right here on the right corner, that is our neighbor's house. Beside her house is a retention area, and that is where the Gopher tortoises are. So they typically may stay closer to the area where they were hatched and mature there. So again, they were at the original nesting place was in that retention pond on the other side of our neighbor's house. So they will travel that far to build their own burrow, to create their own burrow. So
How long do they stay with mom in her burrow?
That I have no idea.
Okay.
That I'd have to research and get an answer on that one.
The
But,
only time I've seen babies is they've been alone. I haven't seen like babies following mom anywhere.
that would be cute.
Yes, it would, but I don't think that's the way they operate.
No.
you know.
Very
Yeah.
independent, very independent. So,
Yes. Mhm.
yeah, but again, it's a long life struggle. And then here in this
Right.
picture, there's, again, this is a lot next to us, that there's a lot of Florida native plants growing right there. We have Spanish needle, we have lots of grasses, we have American beautyberry that are growing, and it gives a great supply just for that. But there's always, you can always be creative and give a little bit more resource for them too.
And something we didn't mention, but we just keep, my grandchildren are pretty well trained that they are tortoises. They are not turtles.
Right, and Florida has the only tortoise species.
Do we? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yep, they are land critters, so they are tortoises. They are
Yes.
not turtles.
They do not swim.
No, don't try to put them in the
No.
water.
Yeah.
And Craig mentioned he has seen them drinking out of puddles. I'm sure, yeah, where if there's water available, sure, they're going to drink it, but in general, in those dry type of habitats, they're going to get it from the plants that they eat as well.
Thank you, Craig, for mentioning that too.
Yeah, that would be cute to see too. And drinking from the puddles. So if there aren't any other questions, oh, I have a question for you again before we go.
Mhm.
We mentioned that you are an advanced master naturalist. I have a problem with that term.
Yeah.
Master naturalist, speaking it. How does one become a master naturalist?
Long journey, a long journey, but becoming a Florida master naturalist, you have to have that. It's great for educational research. If you're an educator or an instructor, or even a volunteer at one of a nature center or with an agency or an organization, this information is quite useful for you. This is offered by the University of Florida. It's in their extension program, where they have different types of programs, whether it be freshwater, uplands, and I can look at my certificates here.
Modules.
Yes,
Yeah.
modules. So there's different types of courses that you can take, whether it be habitat restoration, Florida invasive plant species is a new one that just came out. So all these are just the wealth information. They're offered online, but beforehand, before COVID, you would have to go to all these places, and sometimes those courses were not offered close by. So you would have to travel to all these locations, which is it's good in a way, but to be able to see other different types of habitats that you are not familiar with, but having it online gives you that opportunity to learn more about what you have in your own backyard and within your community and within your county as well. All these natural resource areas, these natural parks and environmental sensitive lands areas and everything. So you having these programs gives you that opportunity to learn and educate yourself more about what is in your area. It's a great, I enjoyed it. You're around like-minded people that want to learn more, and then they gain that information and they gain that education to be able to pass that on. Either you do it just as a hobby or just want to know more about it, or if you want to increase your education, if you're going to be an instructor or even if you're a volunteer. So it's great information. I love the courses. I'm glad they offered it, and it was a long journey, but I did it, and I'm very, very happy I did, because I learned so much more than what I have learned on my own, but it also encouraged me to do more on my own. So it's great.
And I have put the phone number for the county extension office here in Hernando County
Mhm.
in the chat. It's 352-754-4433. You can call and ask about the Master Naturalist Program. Brittany Paul
Yep.
Scharf is the one who oversees it for our county. If you are listening from another county, contact your county extension office. That's where it comes out of. And there's, yeah, like she said, there's an upland module, there's a coastal module, there's all sorts of
Yeah. Also
great opportunities. And Sid is sharing ashtonbiodiversity.org, which is a good resource as well. And Mike says that he's watched the nest with a trail cam. The babies hatch, the babies hatch and leave the nest
almost immediately. Yep,
Yeah.
they do. Sometimes they'll stay with their mom, and then sometimes they'll just like, I'm booking. So yeah, Mike, that is awesome. I was thinking about doing that myself, setting up a trail cam on the property here, and just to gain that information and gain that research. So I would be to better understand them. I envy you right now.
Dawn is telling us she has some that roam on her dirt road and some babies. Yeah, and it, you know, this happens, the dog finds some babies. I've seen it happen. I mean, it hasn't happened with my dogs, but because they're the size of the adult Gopher tortoises. But I did have a lab who, he was so used to them that literally the tortoise would walk right by him and he'd just watch him walk by. It wasn't anything to him, but it does happen that dogs might get a hold of, especially the smaller ones. So you want to try, if you can, you know, to keep your pets, you know, away from the Gopher tortoises.
And
as
I
well.
want to mention one thing. If anybody does take that opportunity to create a little Gopher tortoise garden or what have you, I think Lilly and I would love to see some pictures of that little area. Oh, that would be awesome. And then I can send Lilly my my husband's final project.
Yes, and I would be glad to share that on.
He doesn't know it yet, but
the Facebook page.
he'll do it. Like, how do you do this?
As we're wrapping up, we do have upcoming classes, of course. I have classes every week. Thank Alice for presenting this. It was very interesting and fun and different. And I didn't have to make a class this week. So, you know, it just worked out.
I gotcha.
Thank you. Next week, I won't have an online class because I will be actually teaching a rain barrel workshop outdoors at the Chinsegat Conservation Center. We still have a few openings for that. If you are interested, again, email me and I'll show my email at the end. June 2nd, these next ones are all part of a series on water conservation that I'm doing with Dr. Lester at the County Extension Office. And he has to start keeping more records of the people who come to his classes, you know, for the university. So that's why all of those upcoming ones have advanced registration. But just go to our Facebook page and you'll see the link where you can sign up. You can sign up 3 minutes before you're going to join the class, but it does, you know, then it'll send you the link to join. So I'm going to be doing Feeling Hot, 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 about dealing with this hot and dry weather that we're having, and how to keep our yards, you know, doing fairly decent. Then we'll have one on growing vegetables with micro irrigation. June 16th, I'm switching gears from Feeling Hot, Hot, Hot to Harvesting the Rain, because I have ordered rain starting in mid-June. So I know it's going to, I know it's going to show up. That's also from 43 years of living here in Florida. Mid-June, if everything is the way it's supposed to be, the summer rains will start. And you know, Alice grew up here. So there was a time when we could tell you June 11th, 4:10 p.m., the summer rains will start. Unfortunately, things have somewhat got a little less predictable, but mid-June, those summer rains are going to start, and we're going to learn how to take full advantage of them. And if you are interested in a rain barrel and a compost bin and attending a class virtually, that we're going to have one on June 24th with pickup the next day here in our office. Again, email me for all of those details. The 29th, the class I'm teaching kind of plays into what we learned today about reading weeds. And by the way, there's an S on that word, so don't think it's a class about what it's not about. It's very interesting, the native quote weeds in our yard. Weeds are the ultimate demonstration of right plant, right place.
Right.
The first principle of Florida friendly landscaping. But the weeds that you have, the things that you're growing, also are great indicators of what type of soil you have, what kind of conditions you have. Let them teach you about your yard and what we can learn from them and what will grow there.
That's a good point.
So, yeah,
Very
so
good.
I'm looking forward to that class.
So am I.
Here again is my email. So if you have questions, even for Alice, I will be glad to forward them to her. If you would like a PDF of this class, I will be glad to send that to you. Or if you have questions about joining one of our rain barrel programs, anything like that, please email me at lillyb@hernandocounty.us. And again, thank you very much, Alice.
Thank you.
I think we should bring Alice back at some point for some classes.
Sure, I'd be
And-
happy to.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
And-
you.
Have a good week.
Bye, everybody.